MCAT 2017 Cram, Critical Analysis and Reasoning Skills, Passage 30, The Honest Truth About Dishonesty. Alright, as you view the reading of the passage, you'll notice some highlighted snippets of text. What I want you to do is garner meaning from these specific selections in order to answer the foundations of comprehension, reasoning within the text, and reasoning beyond the text questions that follow. This passage is very manageable and so are the questions. So good luck. Don't give up. You're not the only one going through this, okay? Tons of other people are going through this, so just suck it up, pansy. You can do it, even if you believe you can't. All right, good luck and happy reading. Paragraph 1. Although business people deserve more respect for their honesty than they receive, a common complaint is that they take advantage of consumers through dishonest advertising. Instead of providing useful information for making rational choices, advertisements often appeal to consumers' emotions to persuade them to buy products regardless of need. This complaint is true and obvious to all but the most naive people. Advertisements are designed to convince consumers to favor one product over others, and presenting solely unbiased and emotional information would seldom be the best way to accomplish this goal. Paragraph 2. Thoughtful people recognize that politicians advertise themselves and their policy recommendations in similarly biased and emotional ways. The question is not whether business people or politicians have the strongest moral commitment to truthfulness in advertising. Both groups will deviate from honest practices when they expect that the benefits of doing so will exceed the costs. The important question is who can most easily mislead their customers with emotional statements, unrealistic promises, and biased information? Business people or politicians? Paragraph 3. People are less likely to be swayed by dishonesty and emotion when responding to business ads than when responding to political ads for two reasons. This is important to know during this upcoming election season. First, business people are attempting to persuade people who are usually spending their own money. Politicians are trying to persuade people who are deciding how they want to spend other people's money. The motivation to minimize mistakes by carefully considering claims about costs and benefits before a decision is made, and by evaluating those claims in light of post-decision experience, is greater when one is bearing all of the costs of the decision than when others are bearing most of the cost. Paragraph 4. The second reason why misleading claims are less effective in promoting commercial products than in promoting political products is because the choices that consumers of commercial products make have more decisive meaning producing a definite result, effects on outcomes than do choices of consumers of political products. When people purchase a product in the marketplace, they get the product they choose, and they get it because they choose it. The probability that a voter's choice will be decisive is increasingly small in state and federal elections, and seldom greater than a fraction of 1% in most local elections. Given such a low probability of any one person's vote determining the outcome of the election, voters have little motivation to be concerned about the accuracy of the political claims being made. Paragraph 5. One might think that professors would be more honest than both business people and politicians when promoting their products' value, that is, in their teaching and research. Unlike politicians, professors try to sell their products to consumers who can decisively accept or reject them without being directly affected by how many others make different choices. However, many undergraduate students are glaringly indifferent to what professors have to say. So professors have more latitude. Latitude here meaning scope for freedom of action or thought, and business people to benefit from exaggerated and duplicitous meaning deceitful claims. Paragraph 6. Professors have to be more restrained when publishing than when teaching because other professors will evaluate the truth of their published claims. It is true that academic promotions may be earned and scholarly reputations enhanced by exposing the errors in published work. However, professors are often less concerned with the truthfulness of articles written by other professors than one might think. Professors are anxious. Professors anxious to get their own articles and books published are often less interested in whether the publications they cite are correct than in whether the publications are accepted as correct by academics with views similar to their own. The people most likely to decide whether their books and articles will be published and cited. All right, that's it. The author implies which of the following about business people and politicians? A. Neither are very thoughtful people. B. Neither have a strong moral commitment to truthfulness. C. Both have biased views about their customers and constituents respectively. Or D. Both are more concerned about advertising themselves than their products respectively. I'll give you a moment to think. All right. Okay, so this is a foundations of comprehension question. You have to infer what specific phrases made in the passage mean, and this question requires you to infer the meaning that the author implied but didn't directly state. So this is determined from more than a superficial reading of the text only, okay? In the second paragraph, the author states, quote, thoughtful people recognize that politicians advertise themselves and their policy recommendations in a similarly biased and emotional way. The passage does not imply that either business people or politicians are not thoughtful. So answer choice A is out. On the contrary, their choices seem to be quite deliberate and thoughtful, maybe for the wrong reasons, but thoughtful nonetheless, okay? In the second paragraph, the author also says, quote, the question is not whether business people or politicians have the strongest moral commitment to truthfulness in advertising. Both groups will deviate from honest practices when they expect that the benefits of doing so will exceed the cost. This implies that although he does not take a position on which group has less commitment to truthfulness, that both groups deviate from honest practices. So this implies that both groups do not have a moral commitment to truthfulness. So that's basically what answer choice B is saying, and that's the correct answer choice. All right, so let's look at the others. The passage doesn't discuss whether business people or politicians are biased in their views of their customers or constituents. The author's main point, rather, concerning bias is that the messages produced by business people and politicians are just simply biased, okay? And finally, while politicians may be more likely to advertise themselves, the passage describes business people as generally trying to advertise products. So there's a point of difference rather than similarity when it comes to products, okay? Yeah, so they're not both concerned with advertising the same thing. Answer choice D is incorrect. All right, let's move on. Suppose the politician is re-elected despite lying about his voting record. The passage suggests which of the following explanations? A, the politician made many contradictory statements during his or her campaign. B, voter demographics for the second election were significantly different from the first. C, there was no consensus among voters regarding the costs and benefits of the second term in office for that politician. Okay, so I'll give you a moment to decide. All right. This is definitely a reasoning beyond the text question that wants you to apply the ideas mentioned in the passage to the new situation here in the question stem. So to do this well, you have to understand the assumptions underlying the article and then assess how this new information, both in the question stem and the answer choices, is going to shift the central thesis. The author states that, quote, the motivation to minimize mistakes by carefully considering claims about costs and benefits before a decision is made, and by evaluating those claims in light of post-decision experience, is greater when one is bearing all the costs of the decision than when others are bearing most of the costs. Okay, so you can find this in paragraph 3. This is one reason that individuals are more willing to carefully evaluate the claims of a business person over the claims of a politician. A second reason is also given in paragraph 3. Quote, given such a low probability of any one person's vote determining the outcome of the election, voters have little motivation to be concerned about the accuracy of the political claims being made, okay? So if a politician is able to get reelected though he or she lied about their voting record, then the passage suggests that the likely reason is that voters were not motivated to evaluate campaign claims in light of observed political behavior during the first term in office. So the passage doesn't suggest that the presence of contradictory statements are a reason why people are less likely to be swayed by dishonesty and emotion when responding. Well, not necessarily responding. Actually, yeah, when responding to business ads, than when responding to political ads, okay? So this is wrong. It's possible that a new cohort of voters elected the politician in the second term. However, this particular alternative is not discussed by the passage, so we're not going to make any assumptions. Oh, we're reasoning beyond the text. We're not being far-fetched, okay? We still have to base our new ideas extrapolated from the original ideas presented. So we can't just make stuff up, okay? So that's why B is wrong, and by default, the correct answer choice is answer choice C. Okay. The notion basically of cost and benefits that is mentioned in the passage refers to the costs and benefits of engaging in a careful evaluation process, and that's simply not going to happen amongst the voters, okay? So the lack of consensus in cost and benefits analysis is a reason why misleading claims are less effective basically in promoting commercial products than in promoting political products. Answer choice C is your answer. All right. Which of the following assumptions is most central to the author's argument? A. Most products are designed to appeal to naive and emotional consumers. B. Products are more likely to be purchased when they are advertised than when they are not. C. If products were evaluated according to objective information about them, people would often not prefer one over the other. So I'll give you a moment to think. Okay, this is a reasoning within the text question, which means that it wants you to explore the assumptions of the central theme that is being discussed in the passage. In the second sentence, the author writes, quote, instead of providing useful information for making rational choices, advertisements often appeal to consumers' emotions to persuade them to buy products regardless of need. So, although the author suggests that advertisements appeal to consumers' emotions, the passage doesn't actually discuss the products being designed to appeal to emotions. The design is a completely different story. So this one was tricky, but it's wrong, okay? The passage does not draw any conclusions based on whether products are likely to be purchased when they are advertised over when they are not. So this is not correct. And by default, the correct answer choice is answer choice C. The author writes that the complaint, well, not necessarily. The author writes that advertisements are, quote, designed to convince consumers to favor one product over the other. And presenting solely unbiased and unemotional information would seldom be the best way to accomplish this goal, okay? You can find this in paragraph 1. So if the goal of advertising creates some sort of bias for one product over another, then this sentence suggests that in the absence of advertising, people would basically rely on objective information, which would not result in any preference, which is consistent with answer choice C, okay? All right, that's it. The author most likely mentions probability in his discussion of voting behavior as a reason for which of the following in paragraph 4. 1, to explain low voter turnout in state and federal elections. 2, to explain the prevalence of politicians' dishonesty. Or 3, to explain why voters do not carefully consider political claims. Select all that apply. So is it going to be A, 3 only, B, 2 only, C, 1 and 3 only, or D, 2 and 3 only? I'll give you a moment to think. Shucks. All right, let's get going. Okay, so again, this is a reasoning within the text question that wants you to explore the reasoning for the indicated claim expressed in paragraph 4. So in paragraph 4, the author writes that, quote, the probability that a voter's choice will be decisive is increasingly small in state and federal elections and seldom greater than a fraction of 1% in most local elections. Given such a low probability of any one person's vote determining the outcome of the election, voters have little motivation to be concerned about the accuracy of the political claims being made. Okay, so the individual voter has a very small impact on the overall number of votes, and therefore each voter has only a small stake in the overall decision. The distributed sense of ownership is used to explain why voters do not carefully consider political claims, which is consistent with statement 3, okay? And that's going to be the correct answer choice. The reference to probability appears as part of the 4th paragraph, and the author states that in the first sentence of that paragraph that he is attempting to explain, quote, why misleading claims are less effective in promoting commercial products than in promoting political products. The author is not trying to lower voter turnout. It's kind of ridiculous. So this is contrary to statement 1. And although it's implied that politicians are dishonest in the sentence, quote, both groups will deviate from honest practices when they expect the benefits of doing so will exceed the cost. You can find this in paragraph 2. The author is not attempting to explain the prevalence of politicians' dishonesty in discussing probability, okay? So yeah, that's wrong as well. And again, the first sentence in paragraph 4 sets up that the main behavior that the author is trying to explain is, quote, why misleading claims are less effective in promoting commercial products than in promoting political products, which is about voter reactions to the claims, not about the dishonesty of politicians. So I think by now you get the point and you understand why the correct choice is B3 only. All right? Okay.